okay?
Just a minute, I'm on my phone right now. What do you want, Belle?
Okay, well, speaking of phones, I have a few questions to ask you about my media presentation that has something to do with Americans and their overexposure to electronics. So what is your thought process behind the increase of technology in our society today? And how do you think technology could harm or benefit America as a whole in just different areas of our lifestyle?
I believe that, technology is going to keep advancing. And it's a God-given creative ability to design things. Creativity is part of the image of God, and man is created in the image of God, so they're able to create things. So technology will continue to advance. It just depends on what it's used for. It can be used for good, depending on the human that's behind it and the motive of what it's used for. And it can also be, in the wrong hands, it can be used to harm society and, the world. And so it really depends on the motive behind why it's created and what its actually intended use is for.
Do you think that the rise of technology has benefited or more harmed society as a whole?
I think it has benefited. I think it has specifically benefited the medical industry. It's helped us find new medicines and new ways of curing disease.
I think it's harmed our society because not a lot of people get to go outside now and everyone is just addicted to electronics.
What does your perspective look like as being someone who grew up without technology and without the progression of electronics until your later years, and being able to see that progress over time, and what does that look like for you?
Well, when there wasn't cell phones growing up, life was a lot more simpler, like just freedom, because you weren't attached to your phone. Your parents weren't, so afraid of where your whereabouts were and needing your GPS coordinates to find their children. But then when you get cell phones, you just care. You care more about things that you don't need to know about, but you find out about, and then it affects you emotionally and mentally, because you're able to get news worldwide instantaneously, and it does affect you mentally and emotionally by knowing that information.
What has the rise of technology looked for you in your generation?
With my experience, I can best describe it through video games, because when I first started with video games, you would have like very simple controllers and very simple graphics, and through several stages of growing up, we would have like flagship consoles where the graphics would be better and the controls would be smoother and the games would be in a lot more in-depth. And so nowadays it's almost like you can put goggles on and it's like you're really in it, and they're working on how you can feel what's happening to you in the game. That's, for me, how I have gauged technology's like changes through the years.
What is your opinion on the rise of electronics in our generation?
I think people in our generation shouldn't have electronics because it ruins our socialization.
I think kids are going to be exposed to it very early because their parents have phones, and their parents are they're going to pick up electronics. Very young, whether it's theirs or somebody else's.
What do you think is the proper age to get a phone?
I think the proper age is either when you drive, when you start driving, or like when you're going places and you don't have your parents with you.
As an up-and-coming parent in the summer, how do you think you're going to handle technology with your children?
I think we will try to use technology wisely and with timely, parameters. Hopefully we are mindful of how much we use it, and hopefully I would like to say that we use it effectively in ways that we can better, educate him and teach him new things, but also not spoil him too much.
I think there's handheld gaming systems for little kids, which are specifically for that age group, but they need to be time limited of how much they spend on it. Depending on how, like if you're away from your kid and they're in a different environment, I think like 11 years old, I believe, is the youngest I gave any of my children a cell phone, just so that I could contact them if they weren't with me, or they could contact me. Mm-hmm. And for mostly just calling purposes.
Yeah. What has your experience looked like without being exposed to a phone from a young age?
I feel like it's benefited me a lot in prioritizing things that are more important and like getting things done.